within a 5-kilometer trend, primarily open pit, and very well when we look at the costs and the financial results of that feasibility is total cash cost of US $534 an ounce, including reclamation and sustaining capital $763 per ounce, with a pre-pit production capital of $415 million. And that showed again an after-tax IRR of 24.2%. But if we look at it today, again, we used an 1150 gold benchmark. Today we're closer to 1350 than we are 1150, and as you can see from this, both NAV and IRR.
I can't tell that thing going.
If you use today's benchmark prices for commodity and exchange. Some of the project optimizations, again, is a potential change in metallurgy from whole ore to flotation-intensive cyanide. That would be a reduction in capital, and we've been working on really improving the overall project layout, project execution, reducing our cuts and fills, reducing our cubic yards of concrete placed. But when we look at today's gold price, there are other deposits, even within the Goose area, being the Lama Underground and Echo Pit, that were part of a feasibility, even a $1,200 gold decretum, that we feel that we can bring back in as a feasibility will recast. But again, success at Lama and Vault on that exploration, I think, has really helped us. The de-risking initiatives, again, we've now completed basic engineering, reviewing critical path items. The way we've done this is bring in constructors, experienced northern constructors. So what we've done is had continuous reviews of constructability along with that basic engineering, and we've now kick-started our process on detailed engineering. We coined the phrase internally high-impact exploration. Well, with 7.2 million ounces, we don't need additional ounces to show vacant feasibility and the economics of a project center. What we need is to show that there are ounces that can bypass some of those early ounces, either because of a lower cost in terms of mineability or higher grade, that they have higher impact to the project on an NPV and an IRR basis. And we've been very successful in that in two areas. One is the
one, two, three,
of which the last holes we drilled, were almost 17 grams over 13.5 meters. Remember, our average grade of about 6.2 grams. And within Lama Deep, we've seen almost 40 meters of just under 10 grams, and 20 meters of closer to 13 to 14 grams. That was
it'll probably be alright, to be honest with you, once we sort of start.
There are very few gold deposits in the world that you can step down dip or down plunge 460 meters and have the confidence that you will hit. And of course, our team had the confidence. These are $500,000 holes. We don't take them lightly. Within the vault zone, you can see with our target area, again, the three holes that were drilled there previously were 30 meters to 11 grams, 25 meters to 13.5, 17 to 50 grams. We stepped out, and that 13.5 meters is 16.8 grams.
It just up a little bit now. I can't hear
it. There is potential to make this larger. If you look at these two dashed boxes, and what you're looking at here is gram meter intercepts. Our average gram meter intercept is 60.
Another presentation. It's a 7 million ounce deposit.
It's not unusual to have numbers in 200 to 300 gram meters and numbers up to 800. This is an order of magnitude and better widths and better grade than we've had. And what we're focusing on is how do we bring this forward.
Can you hear that?
And if you look at what grade can do to a deposit, even if you say, we think within these dash boxes that we have an envelope, we have yet to prove it into resources or reserves, about 650,000 tons at between 15 and 20 grams.
What did he say?
500 tons a day of supplemental feed.
Like a couple of parrots.
Could, in theory,
parrots.
Add another 87,500 ounces a year. And you look at cost, our average mining and milling cost underground is about 140. This is deeper, so let's call it $200 a ton. That still leaves potential room for 500 to 600 tons in EBITDA per ton, which could translate into an additional $100 million a year in EBITDA out of this project. So grade is important, and especially trying to front end that grade, and that's been a big part of what we've been doing in some of these optimizations. We also own the Hackett silver royalty. It is over 40 million ounces attributable to Sabina. This is a project that's within 45 kilometers of Back River. Certainly going through the permitting process for Back River, what we've done is added value to this and the permittability. I think that if you look at a silver royalty like this and what it would trade for in one of the big 3 or big 4 royalty companies, it's certainly in the several $100 million of what of attributable NAV. We're certainly not getting value for that. You know, this is a compelling district. It's not a project. This is a gold hub. And again, we're looking at the easiest 2 million ounces to put in production first. Another 5 million ounces of additional resources that yet have to be brought into a mine plan. And we look what happened with our peers is we've done quite the opposite at Back River. When you look at projects that can deliver $1,200 gold over a 30% IRR and over 200,000 ounces a year, this is a pretty select number of companies. And again, this is what it does is helps us in financing a project on the best terms for our shareholders. So from an investment thesis summary, look, the sum of Sabina's parts is much more than a feasibility on a very robust project. We have the remaining in ounces resources that have not been sterilized with this initial project. We've got satellite deposits 50 kilometers away with almost 2 million ounces of measured or indicated and inferred, and then exploration within the Back River Belt itself, and within the known deposits that every one of them is still open down dip and down plunge. Also other assets being hacked, and again, moving this forward in our de-risking. So upcoming catalysts, the Minister's decision, we've very much advanced our IIB in negotiations with the Kitikmeot Inuit Association, the project financing plan, and I think exploration is probably one of the bigger catalysts in the short term. Management and board that has actually done this many times before, not only financially, but actually, you know, getting your hands dirty and building these and making them work. Good analyst coverage, strong management buying. Since I've joined this company the last 2.5 years, we've seen 4 million shares purchased by insiders and 0 shares sold. So certainly we've been putting our money to play in moving this project forward. And that wraps up for me.
Yeah, so we have about a minute left. A really quick question just to make sure we stay on track. Anyone in the room? Quick question. Bruce, quickly, anything that you think the market isn't getting or some aspect of the company that, you know?
Our valuation right now is people are saying, well, you're bumping your head against your NAV. We're bumping our head against our NAV of 2 million ounces without Hackett, without the exploration potential, without a lot of the other pieces of it. So what it is, I think, is what the market is starting to appreciate is that's the wrong NAV.
Potential re-rating. Perfect. Thank you very much, Bruce.
Thank you, Clinton.
Resource project resulting in 9 corporate transactions delivering over $5 billion to shareholders. Nick is Managing Director and CEO of DGR Global, a worldwide resources project generator, and the major shareholder of several petroleum, copper, iron, zinc, and coal companies. Nick, the floor is yours.
Graham, this is Lake Meter, this is only a test. Graham in Perth, this is only a test.
Thank you very much all for coming to hear the SolGold presentation, and thank you very much to the Denver Gold Group for allowing us to present here. We're going to be talking about SolGold's major discovery with its 15% junior partner Cornerstone at the Cascabel project in northern Ecuador, and how we're going to replicate this very fascinating blueprint for finding copper-gold porphyries in one of the world's most unexplored and most promising terrains. So without further ado, read that. I'll test you on it at the end. Why SolGold? Well, it's really all about Cascabel. We're in Ecuador. It's virtually unexplored. It's been ignored as a result of focus by the nation on oil and gas production. And we've developed, as I mentioned before, a successful blueprint for the discovery of these very promising, very large porphyry copper gold projects, and we're applying that over a virtually unexplored province that is Ecuador, from the Peruvians to the Colombians border.
approximately 5 metres
The Alpala
wide.
copper gold deposit that we've
It's the
discovered
first part of
so
exploration that we'll be
far
completing over the coming
is
days,
a
months
world-class
and years.
Tier 1
And within the next
discovery,
few days,
and we believe that it's going to have more metal in it than the gold inventories of most of the major gold miners. So that's a very promising statistic which we believe will see SolGold in good stead for many years to come. We've spent $50 million so far on 50 kilometres of drilling, done 50 kilometres airborne magnetics and ground magnetics, and IP over 30 square kilometres of that. We've been endorsed by investment by one of the world's great block cave copper gold miners in Newcrest. Their stake in the company, I need to point out to you, is not a blocking stake. They have to follow the wishes of 60% of the shareholders and the recommendations of the board and an independent advisor in the event of a change of control transaction proposed by a third party. So very important to note that we derive a lot of strength from Newcrest, but they cannot control the company with that stake. We're resourced by a proven team of explorers. We've got over 150 years of porphyry experience. We now have 50 geologists working at Alpala and all through the country. We have a bank of 60 million US in cash, which is seeing us through the next year of very aggressive drilling that we have planned on the Alpala project. That's 5 rigs, we're increasing to 10 by the end of this year, and the use of the Devico system enables us to keep most of those drill bits in ore all the time. Most importantly, we have a fantastically supportive nation in Ecuador. It's rapidly developing a very effective exploration and mining industry and putting in place an increasingly sophisticated regulatory and fiscal framework to support exploration and mining activities. We are looking at a maiden resource statement at the end of this calendar year, and feverishly keeping those rigs going, providing data for the calculation of that resource. Alpala itself has a number of very significant advantages. It's highly oxidized, which means that the grade's high. There's multiple targets there. There's 4 main systems with 15 targets, of which we've only drill tested 3. We've got consistent intersections over a kilometre long at over a percent equivalent copper, and that's comprised of copper and a 1-to-1 gold credit grams per percent copper. So from a CapEx point of view, we're looking at a high-grade core. It's vertically elongate. That'll mean a small cave, which will be low capital intensity, great logistic advantages, which should present us with around about $3 billion worth of CapEx savings compared to having to develop this in the high and dry Chilean Andes. The soft nature of the ore should also provide us with an autogenous milling characteristic, and combined with the hydropower network locally, that will mean that we also have low milling costs. So we started this company in the Solomon Islands in 1997, found that the geology, the operating environment and the legal framework was too difficult, and moved to the Andean copper belt. It's one of the most important copper belts in the world. Geology is predictable and the governments like you there, so great place to go. We chose Ecuador because it's been unexplored, and we chose northern Ecuador because of the availability of the Cascabel tenement and the deal with Cornerstone, and the presence of the Carnegie Ridge, which brings in a lot of metal, distills slowly, enables the emplacement of large porphyry systems and oxidized ones, which means that the grades are high and they're recognisable. Now, why haven't we found any of these in Ecuador before? Well, it's basically because of the weather. The rain, the cloud, the soil and the vegetation cover keeps these things concealed compared to Chile, and that means that the advances in geophysics now make them much more discoverable, and we're taking full advantage of that. We do believe that on the Eocene belt that we're working on, we will discover some very large systems, and not just at Alpala and Cascabel, but all through the Andean chain in Ecuador, similar to those big blue Chilean blobs, and the enviable names like Chuqui, Camada, Escondida, El Teniente. This is the sort of thing we're looking for, and we believe we will find. The economic rationalism in Ecuador is very supportive. Even though it's a socialist government, they responsibly spend their money on education, health services and physical infrastructure, and that's supported by an increasingly sophisticated regulatory and fiscal regime, and we have a very good working relationship with the government there, enabling us to move this project forward. Most importantly, the people. The design of the exploration team is headed up by a fellow that I think is a genius, Dr. Steve Garwin, and it's implemented by Jason Ward, our project manager, who's here with us today, and the data is collected by Ben Whistler and stored in a magnificent fashion, and this has been testified to by a number of major companies that have all come through and looked at this project under CA. We are also advantaged by the presence of Craig Jones from Newcrest. He's one of the world's foremost block cave experts, and he's giving us some tremendous insights into what can be achieved with Alpala from a capital and an operating cost point of view. So the company has a current market cap of it's actually about £450 million. We have 60 million in the bank. We're endorsed by Newcrest, and as I mentioned before, they can't use that stake to block a change of control deal that's supported by shareholders and recommended by the board and an independent advisor. We've also had an approach by BHP Billiton, but it wasn't successful, and the investment by Guyana Goldfields in the company is also very supportive. A little bit about project structure. We own 85% of ENSA, which holds 100% of the project. Cornerstone owns 15%. SolGold is debt funding Cornerstone through to the completion of the feasibility study. We also have 100% of 4 other subsidiaries, and these are covering 22 other porphyry systems all through Ecuador that we've identified up to 3.5 years ago. So we've had pretty much a first mover advantage in really identifying the cream of the opportunities in this style of ore body through a virtually unexplored terrain. Capital advantages. If you're building this in the high and dry Chilean Andes, you'd have to build a desalination plant, 500 k's of water pipeline, 500 k's of highway, power line, a power station, an airport, a town, and probably some oxygen breathing stations as well. We've got air there, you can breathe easily. We've got water, we've got labour, we've got a sealed highway through the place, and 2 Pacific ports down the highway, so tremendously located. One of the reasons Newcrest came into a minority position in this company is because of the way we run the exploration program. Very methodical with the data. We start with airborne magnetics, augment it with ground magnetics, and the magnetic areas tell you where the porphyry systems are, and you can tell that from the relationship between the black magnetite and the brassy coloured chalcopyrite there. So very important that they're oxidised. That enables the iron to be scavenged by the oxygen, makes the projects recognisable using airborne magnetics, and concentrates the copper and gold into some high grades. We filter this with geochemistry, 8,000 soil samples to date. Look for manganese holes, tells you where the porphyry systems are. The molybdenum tells you which ones are fertile, and the copper-zinc ratios tell you where the copper's concentrated. So we chose the Alpala cluster down in the south. We layer all the data up, and this tells us where the prime targets are, and you can also see Aguanaga and Tandayama America there north of the Alpala cluster. We've drilled all of our drilling to date with man-portable rigs, set world records on a number of occasions, and this has resulted in 30% of our drill holes to date sitting in the top 40 drill holes in porphyry exploration history that we've ever been able to determine. We're happy to have this list challenged. We haven't had any challenges to it so far. It's put together by SRK and audited frequently. So the point of this is this system is very big and it's very consistent and it's high grade. That, combined with its capital advantages and the multiplicity of the targets in Cascabel, and from the SolGold point of view, the multiplicity of the other targets through the country, is going to lead to one of the world's great copper companies being created. We're now completely sorting out the geology, the relationship to the V vein density and the copper mineralisation. That's enabling us to get increasingly predictive with our drill program, and there's the program laid out with 10 rigs there. We are seeing significant extensions to the southeast, the northwest and also the northeast. This thing is getting much, much bigger. We haven't yet defined the limits of this system, and the maiden resource statement at the end of the year is going to be the first of quarterly reiterations that you will see for a long time to come. We're looking for the bornite core. This is where we're going to get high-grade, rich concentrate. And we found that in the northwest, we found it in the southeast. There's a number of cores to this. These things are like humps on a camel's back, much as you get at Oyo Tolgoi or Chuquicamata, any of the world's great porphyry systems. We're seeing that there's a tremendous relationship between copper grade and magnetism, so much so that we can now use magnetics as virtually an MRI scan before surgery in the drill holes of the scalpel. Drilling for us is becoming a great confirmation tool rather than an exploration tool, and it's becoming an investment rather than a piece of risky expenditure. Latest reiteration of the magnetic model shows that there's a number of targets at Alpala, not just in a north-northwesterly corridor, but northeast as well, and the presence of the resource core already at Alpala is forcing us to go and look at Parumbas, Alpala West and Carmen, and that's where this flotilla of drilling rigs is taking us. You can see it in sections there, Alpala Northwest, Trevino, Moran. They're sitting duck targets. We've been focusing our drilling on Alpala Central, understanding geology and where the resource goes. And there's the same sort of system across the trend. Very great similarities to Newcrest Golpu project, vertically elongated ore body. It's soft as a result of a late stage alteration event. That's going to mean it's going to cave easily, and you're also going to get autogenous milling in the cave, so low OpEx. Newcrest love this project. You can see why. It's higher grade than Ridgeway and Cadia East. They're their cash cows. So we've also got high grade, low capital intensity, early development options. You can see with the black ellipse there out on the right hand side of that slide. So this should enable us to get into production sooner without necessarily resorting to erosive high capital arrangements with very large majors. That will probably frustrate them, but it's our advantage. We can get to this thing using the advantage of the topography. There's about a 900 metre elevation advantage, a straight 6 kilometre twin 5.5 by 5.5 decline that we'd be planning. You can put 1.8 kilometres of ore body above the end of that, drop it all down through a narrow cave, it'll autogenously mill, take it out with conveyor, and then get to surface. Using back of envelope numbers that come from comparison with a number of other porphyry operations around the world, we can see at current copper and gold prices around about $1 billion a year coming out of this project after tax. This is going to be increasingly refined, of course, but this is the indicative numbers around the project at the moment. Very quickly now, just on the rest of Ecuador, there's the map of the rest of our tenure. We are the largest exploration ground holder in the country. That's as a result of 3.5 years of research that's identified these other targets. We're finding some fantastic stuff in the field. It's well mineralised, it's well veined, and we will hopefully be able to put some releases out on exactly what this means in the near future. We build social and economic security cordon around Alpala. We employ Ecuadorians. We employ everybody that we can in the region, and we're getting Ecuador at all levels of community, provincial government, and federal government to endorse this project. Thank you very much.
This finished then.
Okay, in the interest of time, I'll go through this very quickly. Our next company presenting is Novo. He's explored for major mining firms, including Homestakes, Newcrest, and Newmont. He helped start Novo Resources in 2010 and began assembling its Australian exploration portfolio. Then, he's obtained a PhD in geology, geochemistry from the Colorado School of Mines. Also, please note that Red Cloud, the company that I represent, has received compensation for providing various services to Novo Resources. Quentin, over to you.
Thank you. We're going to do something a little bit unusual today. We're going to try a live stream from Australia. Okay, this is geologists trying to do IT. Okay, so bear with us. If there's any glitches, don't be surprised. But we're going to present to you something that's absolutely extraordinary. Novo is a company exploring for conglomerate-hosted gold. These are very unusual deposits in the Pilbara region in northwest Australia. I would urge you to go to our website, download the updated presentation. You can read all through this at your leisure. Today, we want to save time for this live stream. We have 142 million shares out. Kirkland Lake became our largest shareholder a couple of weeks ago. We're very delighted to have them as partners. They're very, very smart people. We currently have a market cap in the neighborhood of 700 or 800 million. We have 70 million in cash. We can advance this very unusual project forward. Today we're going to show you the first trench we've opened up in an area called Purdy's Reward. You'll see it in that purple box up in the upper northeast corner there. This is a conglomerate. It's a very unusual deposit. It strikes for about 8 kilometers. It dips to the southeast. This is really our first exploration on this property. You get to witness firsthand basically the discovery of a gold deposit today. All right, the cross section you see here, you'll see a small red line up where the conglomerate daylight's called, and it says trenching. That's basically what you're going to see the live feed from right now. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to our live feed. Hopefully we can hook up with our team in Australia.
Thank you, Quentin, and thank you, Colorado.
Okay, Luke, I'm going to hand it over to you. It's all yours, buddy.
Thank you, Quentin, and thank you, Colorado. We appreciate the opportunity being given to us today to be able to show you what we believe is an amazing project. Although it's still only early days, the exploration to date has already exceeded expectations, and it's got us highly enthusiastic, and we hope at the end of this small little session, you too will feel the same. What I'm standing on at the moment is the first of many trenches to come at the Purdy's Reward prospect, as just mentioned by Quentin Henney. It's going to be the beginning of a drawn-out exploration process that will continue over many days, weeks and years. Sorry, feedback issues. Commencing next week, we'll be beginning diamond drilling to commence to do stratigraphic drilling control, and from there we'll be moving into wide diameter RC to do bulk samples. The ground we've pegged in the West Pilbara is over 10,000 kilometres and is targeting very specific units of the lower Fortescue group within the West Pilbara. Below me we'll see sequences of sands and conglomerates, and below me we have what is the main mineralised zone consisting of mafic cobbles and andesitic sandstones, which form our conglomerates. On the ground you'll also see numerous pink dots and circles. All these pink dots and circles represent nuggets that have been dug out of our trench, which is 30 metres long down dip, 10 metres wide across strike, with an overall clearance of about 5 metres. We're currently standing on the top surface, and we are about to have Brad Smith, one of our field members, to go over the detecting that we're doing on site, explain what he does, explain the signals, and from there we'll then move on to actually jackhammer out some of the gold from the ground and give you an example of what we're looking at. So Brad, all yours.
Thanks very much, Luke, and g'day Colorado. So basically we're going to start down the back of the pit here. quite a few targets to go over. A lot of the targets are quite loud. The louder targets may indicate a bigger nugget or it's closer to the surface, and the quieter targets might indicate a smaller nugget or it's actually quite a bit deeper. So I'll start down the back of the pit here, turn my detector on, and see it's just going to do a start sequence, and I will pause along the way and explain the target signals we are getting, just so you've got an indication. Let's do a ground balance. I've got nothing in my boots. So that's a little bit of a smaller target. I'll move around, come down the back here. So that's perhaps a bigger nugget or it's closer to the surface. But as you can see, little areas like this, we got 2 or 3 nuggets. We'll move along. There's one here marked in yellow here that's actually quite a big one. Well, sounds like it. You can see we'll move along and we are getting these big areas of numerous nuggets. So this one here, we have marked targets that were picked up with a much stronger detector, which means they're just quite a bit deeper. You just get a little bit of a signal on that now. We'll move along. Got another sizable one there. And as you can hear there, the detector's quite blanking. So that might be quite a sizable nugget or it's close to the surface. So we'll move along. So basically we're standing on bedrock here, or the actual conglomerate, so move over to here. So there's some quieter ones there. Got quite a few in here. Nice big signal. And it just keeps going. Totally unbelievable. Another good target. Just to note, this detector doesn't go super deep, but will pick these nuggets up. Yep. Another good one there. Move around the corner there. There's 300 and something targets in the pit, so we won't do all of them. Some little bit deeper ones. And there's a little spot over here, and as you can see, we've got about 7 or 8 targets here. And what we've been finding, we're getting bigger nuggets surrounded by smaller nuggets, but also what we've done in our first test, we've actually found that there's quite a few fines in this material as well. Fines that the detector won't pick up, but you can obviously see them under a loupe. Extends back down here. You can see there's quite a few nice targets down this end as well. Keep following along. Another one, nice one here. So what we'll do at the end of this, we'll actually jackhammer some out so you can obviously have a look. Nice one there. Trench keeps going that way, very much the same. Really tells a story how rich this ground is. So I think you'd get the picture of how rich it is and how much gold should be here. I'll pass back over to Luke. I'll walk back down and Luke will explain what we're going to do next.
Thanks, Brad. So we've heard the noise from the metal detector, so it's now time to actually show some colour. We have John, one of our supervisors, and Peter, one of our geologists as well. We're going to go crack open some rock and hopefully show you some nice nuggets of this amazing deposit. Go ahead, guys.
Piece could go now. Get him to come over here. So basically we just broke out a sample. Just run it over the detector. You see something in it. John, can you break that for us, please? Break that one again, please, mate. And this one here. Break it again, John. Proving a little bit difficult, this one. While we're waiting, I'll try a few more rocks here. There's a couple more samples here, so let's look. Yeah, right on the paint. Oh, actually, he's just broken the nugget out of the actual rock. Unfortunately, it come out, so as you can see there, typical melon seed. Piece of gold. And what we'll do, we'll move back over to where Pete is over here. Continue jackhammering there, Pete. And we'll see if we can actually get one in the rock. Just break some of that up while you're waiting, mate. Come up in here, mate. Come down. I'll get this edge to stop there, Pete. So we'll just try some of this material that Pete's just jackhammered out. Might actually be a little bit deeper. A little bit deeper there, Pete. So just take this section out, Pete, and this section out, and we'll try it again. I'll come back over, mate. Ah, typical.
That's it, we're going to have to finish.
Yeah. Pete, get it out. Pete, come down on top of this, mate, here. No, on the top of here. Break it out. Keep going, keep going, mate. Keep going. Okay, hold it there.
Just while we're there,
Oh,
the other sample just got broken open, and we've got another gold nugget sitting on the side of the
Oh, hang on. Here we go.
Oh!
Check that out. So that's why it was given such a big signal. Lovely bit of gold.
Okay, it's time to wrap up. Time to wrap it up.
Awesome. What a cracker. So there's actually still a signal in there as well, but you can see that big signal's gone.
Okay, thanks very much, guys. We appreciate it. See you later.
See yous.
Okay, like I said, ID and show.
You're under pressure there, big fella.
Yeah, that's a pretty good show. Okay, this is an exceptional deposit.
It's going to take exceptional exploration techniques.
We're right at the
It's a very
last minute.
coarse gold system, so we're going to experiment with large diameter drilling, opening up large trenches like.
Why are you still on? Oh,
God damn.
Jesus.
I'm looking at the minutes ticking over and you can hear Quinn starting to get in my ear going, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up.
That was a cracker piece.
That's a good piece, though. Oh,
now you got to mark it. You can't just tag that. That has to go because it was owned by one last found on the video.